And watch out for wet pavement delays in Canton. Triple Team Traffic, WSB.
Have you ever sold a home? The real estate agent puts a lockbox out front. You feel like everybody has access to your house at any time? With our program, we eliminate that. Hi, this is Mark Spain, and we develop a whole new way to sell your home without ever putting it on the market. The Mark Spain Guaranteed Offer is changing the way homes are sold. You can receive an all-cash offer and close in as little as 21 days, hassle-free. No showings, no open houses, no negotiations. It's that simple. Go to markspain.com and get your guaranteed offer today.
There are so many things I enjoy about the return of fall, and it's no surprise that many of them include my Chevy Silverado from Jim Ellis Chevrolet. Whether tailgating with friends, heading to a mountain trail, or simply running errands around town, you can do it all this fall in a Chevy Silverado. And right now at Jim Ellis Chevrolet, you can save $12,500 off MSRP on a 2018 Silverado 1500 All-Star Edition. Take stock number 158350. Its MSRP is $44,906. With Jim Ellis rebates and discounts, you'll pay just $32,406. Just add the TABT and state fees. Big savings, outstanding customer service, and the ability to shop, buy, and trade your way. That's why I choose Jim Ellis Chevrolet. For details, visit JimEllisChevy.com or stop by Peachtree Industrial just inside the perimeter. Tell them Scott Slade sent you and find new roads to your fall adventures in a new Chevy Silverado from Jim Ellis Chevrolet.
I'm Harvey Massey. At Massey Services, we know you don't want pests in your home. That's why we created Pest Prevention. Our preventive approach focuses on the outside of your home and includes caulking and sealing areas that pests use to get inside. You see, our program keeps pests out so you won't have to control them later. And that's better for you, your family, and our environment. That's Massey Services. Expect more and get it.
I'm a procrastinator. So even though I travel a lot, I drag my feet on joining TSA PreCheck. But now that I've got it, I get it. I keep my shoes on, laptop and liquids in my bag, and my belt buckled so I get through security quicker, with less hassle. And at $85 every 5 years, that's only $17 a year. Now, I have more time to do things, like preparing for tomorrow's presentation. Don't put it off. Enroll in TSA PreCheck today at tsa.gov.
FAST is the nation's largest gig speed network. Beyond FAST is the complete reliability of 4G LTE backup. That means whether you're downloading big files, swiping credit cards, or emailing your sales team or customers, your business can go on even if the power goes out. When you're a business owner, you need speed and reliability. For a limited time, make the switch to Comcast Business and get an amazing deal on fast, reliable internet. Just one more way Comcast Business goes beyond AT&T. Get started with 75 megabit internet for $49.95 per month when you add 2 voice mobility lines. Call 1-800-501-6000 today. Comcast Business. Beyond fast.
Offers 11/21/18. Restrictions apply. New business customers only. 2-year agreement required. Early termination fee applies. Equipment taxes and fees extra subject to change. Connection Pro backup limited to up to 6 hours.
What does it mean to say you've been in business 20 years? I'm consumer investigator Dale Cardwell. My research shows it means you're doing something right. Since 1998, Superior Pro Exteriors has transformed thousands of homes throughout Metro Atlanta. That's 2 decades of painting, windows, siding, roofing, and gutters. I'm proud of my partnership with owners Irwin and Ava Whites and their entire Superior Pro team. Well done. SuperiorPro.com, your total exterior solution.
At 554, Turnbull, WSB, and again we have trouble there on the outer loop 25 south, Paces Ferry, exit 18. Got a stall there at the left lane, more on the perimeter travails here in under 6 minutes. We got a sound true travel advisory still on the south side. Alex Williams, Full Ring, Every Traffic Center.
Yeah, looking live, WSB Jam Cam. They're using a crane to remove some stuff from an earlier crash out of the wood line, 85 southbound by 4 Highway 138, exit 64. You're jammed up back to 285, also slowing the perimeter. Also looks like it might have just rained down there, adding to those delays. Right lane lane construction still there, 675 southbound at Highway 138, exit number 1. It's in the right lane. That's got you stacked all the way back before Ellenwood. Use Highway 42 or 75 south as an alternate, which is slow from Central Avenue to Forest Parkway. Doug?
Moderate volume over the West Freeway that I've just been flying over, 20 westbound from MLK to Fulton Industrial, touching to the brakes again before and after Thornton Road. 20 eastbound slows right here before the downtown connector out to Boulevard, and then for 25 to Wesley Chapel. 85 north, travel advisory, crash to left lane, north toward Hills, jammed you back all the way toward Freedom Parkway, south of the town, about 30 minutes from Buckhead to I-20. 78 eastbound is under 20 minutes, 285 to East Park Place, Triple T traffic, WSB.
Just when you think things are starting to fade, they pick up. We got rain in the Decatur area and in Druid Hills. We've got rain over the Grady Curve right now. We've got rain in the Hapeville area at the 75-85 split on the south side. We've got rain over the airport and over 285 and 75 on the south side. We've got rain going down 41 through Riverdale and over 85 headed down towards Union City now. Heavy rain over the interstate right there at 85 and 285 on the south side. North side, you got new rain between Woodstock and Holly Springs, and heavy rain now over 575 between Canton and Ball Ground. Light showers throughout south of the city, south of I-20 as well. The heaviest stuff, though, is south of Noonan. In the Grantville-Hoganville area, but it's headed north. All these storms are headed north, and Noonan is going to be getting very, very heavy rain in the next 20 minutes with the storm that has developed over 85 south of Noonan, headed north towards Noonan. The Ted Cruz situation, I want to talk about that when we get back. Being chased out of a restaurant on a date with his wife by progressive activists. But when we come back, before I do anything else, before I even get to the President's speech of the United Nations, I believe I owe it to all of you as to why I do not believe the accusers of Brett Kavanaugh and think these are partisan hit jobs.
At the Jeep Adventure Days event, you'll find great deals, like the great outdoors are never out of reach, especially with Cherokee's impressive fuel efficiency of 31 mpg highway. And right now, your local Jeep dealer wants you to take your freedom even further by offering $4,000 total cash allowance on the 2019 Cherokee Limited when financed for current owners of competitive vehicles. And now, with Cherokee's available 8.4-inch Uconnect touchscreen, you can stay connected no matter how far you wander. Go to Jeep.com to find your local Jeep brand dealer and discover more great deals on the legendary Jeep brand lineup, including $4,000 total cash allowance on the 2019 Cherokee Limited when financed for current owners of competitive vehicles. Don't sacrifice all-weather capability, fuel efficiency, and comfortable ride and handling for a low price ever again. You can have it all now during the Jeep Adventure Days event. EPA estimated 31 mpg highway. Actual mileage may vary. Available four-wheel drive. Excludes all other FCA vehicles. Financing for well-qualified buyers through Chrysler Capital. Not all buyers are qualified. Residency restrictions apply. Offer ends 10/1. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
Would you like to see actual magic? All you have to do is call 1-800-GOT-JUNK and prepare to be amazed. We make junk disappear right before your eyes. All you have to do is point, send us a signal, and we'll be there in clean, shiny trucks and snappy, happy uniforms. Point at anything you wish was gone. Gone! We're really good at this. All you have to do is point. Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK or visit 1-800-GOTJUNK.com.
Are you experiencing tired, achy, painful legs? At night, do you have leg cramps or restless legs? Do your ankles swell? Are your legs showing discoloration? This is Monica Kaufman-Pearson for Vein Atlanta, and I have some great news. If you contact Vein Atlanta by Wednesday of this week, they'll provide you with a free evaluation. If you have had problems with bulging veins, varicose veins, or spider veins, and have not felt comfortable wearing shorts, I encourage you to contact Vein Atlanta today. Take the next step and begin the process of getting rid of them. Vein Atlanta has nationally board-certified cardiovascular surgeons ready to alleviate your vein problems. Most procedures are covered by insurance, and our experienced patient advocates can walk you through the process. Do you have a high deductible? Ask Vein Atlanta about their 12-month 0% interest payment plans. Call this week before Wednesday, and you will get a free evaluation. Visit VeinAtlanta.com now. That's VeinAtlanta.com.
WSBB-FM Doraville, a Cox Media Group station. This is Atlanta.
Atlanta's 24-hour news, weather, and traffic. News 95.5 and AM 750. WSB. Atlanta's news starts now.
It is 6 o'clock. I'm Chris Campbell, live from the WSB 24-hour news center. Bill Cosby this evening is in prison.
The man once known as America's Dad is now in the custody of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Following his sentence of at least 3 years in state prison, Cosby was cuffed and led out of the courtroom, down a hallway in the Montgomery County Courthouse to a holding cell. He will eventually enter the Pennsylvania state prison system, where he will be processed, given a security assessment, and then assigned to one of 24 male state prison facilities in the state. Mark Remillard, ABC News, Norristown, Pennsylvania.
81 degrees on Peachtree Street, coming up to 6:01. WSB meteorologist Kirk Mellish has his exclusive 5-day forecast coming up. Excellent triple team traffic, and here is Doug Turnbull.
Well, we're seeing some progress in Stockbridge, Chris. 675 south. DOT told us about 2 hours beforehand this thing's going to stay out until at least 5:30. The construction in the right lane at Highway 138. Well, now it's 6 o'clock. We're seeing the crews start to pick up the cones, but damage is done. You are jammed back towards Hansel Block Road, exit 7. Highway 42 is stacked up as an alternate, but 75 is not. Take that, 75 south through Forest Park and Faro, and you'll get better. 85 south is still a big-time struggle between 285 and the earlier crashes near Highway 138. 85 northbound through, leaving Midtown is jammed up. A crash 2 left lanes at North Druid Hills, and exit number 89 then jams you back to I-20. South through town begins slowing mainly at the 85-400 Birds, the Captain Herb interchange. Jill Nelson, Gold Lake, Everett Traffic Center.
Earlier crash on the Interloop, 285 northbound at exit 9. MLK still blocking a left lane. That's slowing you back toward Cascade Road. Interloop 285 eastbound, 33 minutes to travel from Ashford Dunwoody over to exit 41 Memorial Drive. Leftover brake lights on the south side Interloop between 75 and 85. How's the outer loop? Alex Williams.
285 westbound, hit the brakes. North side Powers Ferry for the ride over to I-75. Then it's on and off the brakes, making your way through Smyrna Vinings down to the West Freeway. Earlier trouble clearing around Paces Ferry. And then that slow 85 ride is causing 285 southbound delays, leaving Camp Creek Parkway down to I-85. Triple team traffic, WSB.
President Trump today's taken aim not only at Democrats, but also directly at one of Brett Kavanaugh's accusers.
Jamie Dupree 2.0.
Bring a photo op at the UN.
It's a very dangerous game.
The president blasted Democrats.
They're playing a con game.
And stood behind Kavanaugh.
They know he's a high-quality person.
As Mr. Trump said, the second accuser should not be believed.
She admits that she was drunk. She admits time lapses.
The president again saying Kavanaugh should be confirmed.
Breaking news first. This is WSB 24-hour continuing news.
Well, unexpectedly still at this hour, the future of Plant Vogtle, the nation's only nuclear power plant still under construction, is up in the air still. One of the major owners, Oglethorpe Power, is now on an extended 7 o'clock deadline to decide whether to stay in the project, which is billions of dollars over budget and years behind schedule. WSB consumer expert Clark Howard says with all that, it's time to cut our losses.
There's no math that makes it smart for us to continue to use people's money to complete this boondoggle. It's a disaster.
Will our power bills go up? Clark says it's likely, no matter which way this ends up going this evening. The DeKalb County Commission this evening is expected to vote on the mysterious Project Rocket. It's called a huge distribution facility rumored to possibly be a future Amazon fulfillment center.
While most of the site known as Project Rocket sits in Gwinnett County, a small portion is in DeKalb and is needed for an employee entrance off Bermuda Road. The DeKalb Planning Commission has recommended denial, and Jackie Steele, who is HOA president of the Deer Creek subdivision, hopes the full DeKalb Commission will vote no tonight.
Bermuda Road is a 2-lane road with traffic already there with all the homeowners that we have in that area, and Bermuda Road is a cut through.
Gwinnett commissioners approved a special use permit for the 2.5 million square foot facility last week. Sandra Parrish, WSB.
Atlanta-based Inspire Brands is buying Sonic for $2.3 billion. Sonic, 3,600 restaurants across the country, founded in the early 1950s. Inspire is the owner of the Arby's restaurant chain. WSB News Time is 6:04.
You can depend on WSB when there's breaking news. First and accurate. And from the voices you trust. 24 hours on News 95.5 and AM 750. WSB.
Kitchen Design Secrets, presented by Platinum Kitchens and Design.
Hi, I'm Leslie Karp, owner of Platinum Kitchens. Are you dreaming of more kitchen space but fear the expense of an exterior addition? Many homes have separate formal living and dining rooms which go unused. Consider expanding into these rooms for a larger kitchen footprint and an open space more in tune with today's casual living. For more kitchen design secrets, visit PlatinumKitchens.com.
I'm Michael Karp. I believe the kitchen is the new family room. It's where you live. Platinum Kitchens delivers a better kitchen renovation experience with our exclusive Platinum process that starts in your home. Our first visit includes a kitchen designer at no charge. Next, you're presented with a free customized design layout with clear and realistic pricing, all at no cost to you. At Platinum Kitchens, our process includes our promise to help you create and realize your dream kitchen that you and your family will live in for years to come.
Schedule your free in-home kitchen design consultation right now at PlatinumKitchens.com.
There comes a time in every home's life.
Time to replace your windows.
Infinity from Marvin Fiberglass Windows by North Georgia Replacement Windows have a limited lifetime warranty backed by a company in business for over 100 years. Built for life, they last a lifetime.
These are not plastic, cheap-looking windows. Infinity from Marvin Fiberglass Windows complement the architecture of your home for year-round beauty.
Huge savings. This month's limited time offer at ngwindows.com.
North Georgia Replacement Windows, yeah!
Bellamy Strickland Chevy Buick GMC.
They really got to know me to see if that car would fit me.
Then we're going to find that vehicle that you kind of envision owning.
I listen to what they want, and I only give them what they want. I don't try to push anything else on them.
BellamyStrickland.com. Find new roads.
Brian Kemp, Stacey Abrams. Georgia's future is in your hands. Follow Georgia's race for governor every day with Scott Slade, Eric Erickson, and the Southeast's largest news team. Nobody covers Georgia's elections like News 95.5 and AM 750. WSB. Depend on it.
WSB News Time coming up to 6:07. Now live team coverage of traffic and weather. First Triple Team Traffic, here is Doug Turnbull.
First off, all lanes have reopened. Chris, 675 south. That long-term construction there at Highway 138, exit number 1, but you're jammed back toward Anvil Block Road. Now I'm in DeKalb County, up over a house fire at Stone Mountain. They're trying to knock it down. Groveport and Ashton Oaks Circle. This is not causing any traffic impact, but a lot of smoke in the area. 85 north of DeKalb jammed up. Crash 2 left lanes at Northford Hills. Exit 89. That jammed you all the way into downtown Atlanta. Above that, it's still just about 30 minutes. 285 up to the Mall of Georgia until Nelson. Cool Lake, Everett Traffic Center.
Florida northbound getting easier now from Glenridge up to the MARTA station. Some minor delays as well between McFarland Parkway and Highway 141 incoming. Going southbound on 400, you still got that tap of the brakes between Mansell Road and Holcomb Bridge. And as you approach 285 at the perimeter, Mike Shields Northwest.
Lighter than usual, no delays north and southbound from Midtown up into Ackworth on 75. 575 northbound just waste volume through the Bells Ferry curve.